Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to look at history through a totally new lens. It's a way to read the invisible pressures and anxieties that shaped entire generations just by looking at the art they left behind. No, I mean, really think about it for a second. You know that constant, low-level hum of pressure? That feeling that everyone and everything is being pulled in a million different directions at once. It feels so modern, but is it really unique to our time? What if we could actually measure that collective anxiety? And what if the stress of the Victorian era was, fundamentally different from the pressures of the 1960s? Well, there's a fascinating concept called the Brain Kinematics Model that suggests exactly that we can actually identify and decode the unique combination of strains that defines any period in time. And here is the absolute key to the whole thing. The central idea is that art isn't just a nice painting or a good story. No, it's more like a scientific instrument. It's a seismograph, recording the social and psychological tremors of its time, capturing pressures that people back then might not have even had the words to describe. Okay, so let's get into it. To read these seismographs, we need a toolkit. Think of it like a decoder ring. And this model gives us 5 fundamental types of social strain to look for. All right, first up, we have E strain. E for economic. This is all about the pressure of work, of just making a living. It's the anxiety that comes from scarcity and the nonstop grind of competition. It's basically about survival and resources. Next is N strain, and for normative. Now, this is the stress of fitting in, right? The pressure to conform to your society's moral codes, to be seen as respectable, and to just follow all those unwritten rules of how you're supposed to act. Then, of course, there's I strain, identity. This one's deep. It's that really personal pressure of figuring out who you are and, where you belong in the world. It's that basic human struggle for meaning. B strain stands for bodily strain, and these are the most direct physical threats you can imagine. The pressure of bad health, the constant risk of injury, the existential threat of war, or even just living in a dangerous or polluted environment. And finally, we have A strain, or attention strain. This is the pressure of information overload, that feeling of being constantly watched, constantly monitored, and just the sheer cognitive burnout from media saturation. Sound a little familiar? So now we have our toolkit, right? Our 5 strains. Let's put on our historical detective hats and travel back in time to read the unique strain signatures of different eras. And we're going to start with the Victorians. When you look at the Victorian era, its signature is just dominated by these 2 massive pressures. First, an incredibly high norm strain, this rigid, almost suffocating code of respectability and morality. And right alongside it, a really high economic strain, driven by the harsh realities of industrialization. But here's what's so fascinating. This strain wasn't felt equally by everyone, not at all. For the upper class, it was mostly symbolic, the stress of keeping up appearances. For the middle class, it was this exhausting, never-ending respectability treadmill. But for the working class, the strain was brutally physical. It was bodily strain from dangerous factories and terrible living conditions. And here it is, our first seismograph reading. A novel like Charles Dickens' Hard Times isn't just a story. It is a perfect record of that powerful combination of norm and economic strain. The factory in the book becomes a symbol for an entire society where the human spirit is being crushed by the dual machinery of industry and strict social rules. Okay, now let's leap forward, and you can just see how the signature changes over time. In the 1930s, there's this massive spike in bodily strain because of war, recorded forever in the fragmented bodies of Picasso's Guernica. After the war, norm strain comes roaring back, captured perfectly in Death of a Salesman. But then, bam! By 1967, the whole thing flips. Norm strain plummets, and identity strain just skyrockets as an entire generation tries to rewrite who they are. And this slide just shows that reversal so perfectly. The Victorians were trapped on that respectability treadmill, just running and running to stay in the same social place. The counterculture, on the other hand, was all about normative de-locking, a conscious effort to break the very locks the Victorians had put in place. Suddenly, the pressure was to be different, not to be the same. So, what about us? What's the signature of our time? Well, the model suggests we're living in what it calls a polycrisis, where multiple strains are all interacting in new and really complex ways. So what's our defining pressure? If you had to pick one, it's a massive, massive amplification of attention strain.
The sheer volume of information, the surveillance of social media, the constant demand on our brains, it is absolutely off the charts.
But here's the crucial part. This A strain doesn't exist in a vacuum. Oh no, it couples with and actually intensifies everything else. In a film like Parasite, you see it amplifying class and economic strain. In a movie like Sorry We Miss You, it merges with the gig economy to create this crushing bodily and economic pressure. It's really the engine of our modern polycrisis.
Okay, so what's the big takeaway here? It means you now have the toolkit. You literally have the decoder ring to read the hidden stresses, not just in history, but in the world that is unfolding right in front of you right now. It's actually a pretty simple 3-step process. The next time you watch a movie or read a book, first, just try to identify the pressures. Are the characters struggling with money, with fitting in, with who they are? Second, find the seismograph. How does the story actually show you that pressure? And finally, try to read the overall signature. What's the unique combination of strains that defines the world of that story? And that leaves us with one final, and I think pretty incredible question. If art really is a seismograph, as you look at the movies, the music, and the books being made right now, and you apply this new framework, what patterns do you see? What future tremors are our modern seismographs just beginning to predict?